I thought I knew what love looked like. 2 years with Amanda felt like building something real. We met at a company networking event, started dating, and eventually moved into a one-bedroom apartment downtown together. In the beginning, we split everything 50-50. Rent, utilities, groceries. It felt equal, mature, like a real partnership. But somewhere along the way, the balance shifted. I found myself covering more and more expenses while she spent freely on herself. I never thought the woman I loved would see me as nothing more than a walking wallet. Before I dive into how financial disrespect nearly destroyed me, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have ever felt taken advantage of in a relationship. Now let me tell you how I discovered the truth about who I was really dating. I met Amanda 3 years ago at a networking mixer my company hosted. She worked in marketing for a boutique agency, and I was a software engineer at a tech startup. We hit it off immediately. She was charming, witty, and seemed genuinely interested in building a life together. Those first 6 months were incredible. We would split the bill at restaurants, take turns buying groceries, and never kept score about who paid for what. She seemed independent and financially responsible, which I really admired. After about a year of dating, we decided to take the next step and move in together. We found a nice one-bedroom apartment in the downtown area. The rent was $2,300 a month, which seemed reasonable if we split it evenly. We agreed that each of us would pay $1,150 for rent, and we would split the utilities down the middle. The first month went smoothly. We both paid our share on time, and I felt excited about this new chapter in our relationship. But by the third month, things started to change. Amanda came to me one evening looking stressed and said she was a bit tight with money and asked if she could pay her share a few days late. I understood that sometimes life throws unexpected expenses at you, so I agreed without hesitation. A few days turned into 2 weeks, then 3 weeks. I ended up paying the full rent to avoid late fees, and Amanda promised she would pay me back as soon as she could. That promise never materialized. The fourth month brought the same situation. Amanda explained that she was investing in some career development courses and asked if I could cover her portion again. I felt uncomfortable, but did not want to start a fight over money. I told myself she was just going through a temporary rough patch and that things would get better. But I started noticing something strange. While she claimed to be broke, she was still going out for expensive brunches with her friends and posting pictures on Instagram from trendy restaurants. I saw her come home with shopping bags from designer stores. When I gently asked how she afforded these things if money was tight, she got defensive and said she had saved up for those purchases or that her friends treated her. I wanted to believe her because I loved her, but a nagging feeling in my gut told me something was off. Still, I pushed those doubts aside and continued to cover our shared expenses, thinking that eventually she would get back on her feet and start contributing again. I was wrong. For the next 4 months, I found myself paying the entire rent and all the utilities. Every single month, the same pattern repeated itself. Amanda would have some excuse about why she could not contribute, but her lifestyle never reflected someone who was struggling financially. Between rent, electric, water, internet, and groceries, I was spending about $3,000 a month just to keep us afloat. Meanwhile, Amanda barely contributed anything beyond occasionally picking up some groceries, and even then it was mostly stuff she wanted for herself. I watched her post Instagram stories from high-end nail salons and luxury spas. She would show off new outfits and handbags that cost hundreds of dollars. Each time I saw these posts, my stomach would turn. How could she afford all of this, while claiming she could not help with rent? I started tracking my finances more carefully and realized my savings account had dropped from $15,000 down to $8,000 in just a few months. I was bleeding money, and the stress was affecting every part of my life. I stopped going to the gym to save the $40 monthly membership fee. I started packing lunch every day instead of eating out with coworkers. I cut back on everything I could think of, because I was barely keeping my head above water. Yet Amanda seemed oblivious to my struggles. One day she came home with a $600 handbag And when I asked how she could afford it, she snapped at me and said she had saved up for it, and that I was not her father to question her spending. I knew I needed to have a serious conversation with her. One evening, I sat her down and tried to approach the topic gently. I explained that the current arrangement was not working and that we needed to figure out a fairer way to split expenses. Her reaction shocked me. Instead of understanding, she became defensive and accused me of being petty about money. She said if I truly loved her, I would not be counting dollars and cents. Then she hit me with something that made my blood run cold. She told me that her salary was lower than mine. I made about $85,000 a year while she made around $55,000. She said that men were supposed to be providers and that I should be happy to take care of her. I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. Was I being unfair? Should I just accept that I would pay more because I earned more? I started second-guessing myself and wondering if I was being selfish. So I backed down and told her I would temporarily cover more of the expenses until she got her finances sorted out. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and promised things would get better soon. That promise, like all her others, turned out to be empty. The next 2 months were even worse. Amanda stopped contributing anything toward rent. She would occasionally buy groceries, but only items she wanted. I was now responsible for everything: rent, electric bill, water bill, internet, renter's insurance. All of it fell on my shoulders. I could not save a single dollar. My emergency fund continued to shrink, and I started having trouble sleeping at night because of financial anxiety. I was working hard at my job, bringing home a decent salary, yet I felt broke all the time. Around this time, my best friend Marcus noticed I seemed worn down. We went out for drinks one night, and after a couple of beers, I opened up about what was happening. Marcus looked at me seriously and said that Amanda was using me and that what I had was not a partnership. I immediately jumped to her defense, making excuses about her difficult situation and insisting that she would turn things around. Marcus just shook his head and told me I needed to wake up before I lost everything. His words stung because deep down I knew he was right, but I was not ready to face the truth yet. I went home that night and found Amanda scrolling through Instagram, laughing at memes and planning another shopping trip with her girlfriends in a group chat. I stood in the doorway watching her, and for the first time I allowed myself to really see what was happening. This woman was living rent-free, contributing almost nothing, yet spending money like she did not have a care in the world. Something inside me shifted that night, but I still was not ready to take action. Not yet. About a week later, Amanda came home one evening, practically bouncing with excitement. She told me she and 4 of her girlfriends were planning an amazing trip to Cancun. They had found this incredible 5-star all-inclusive resort right on the beach. She went on and on about the spa treatments they would get, the excursions they would take, and how much fun it was going to be. The trip was 5 days long, and I could hear the joy in her voice as she described every detail. Then she casually mentioned the cost: $2,500. That included her flight, the resort stay, and spending money for activities and shopping. My heart sank. I looked at her and asked the obvious question: how was she planning to pay for this trip? She smiled at me like it was the most natural thing in the world and said she thought I could help her out. She reminded me that I knew she had been tight with money lately. I could not believe what I was hearing. I stared at her and said that she had not paid rent in 6 months and that I was barely making ends meet myself. She seemed shocked that I would even bring that up. She told me this trip was really important to her and that she needed this break because she had been so stressed. I was the one paying for everything while watching my savings disappear. I was the one lying awake at night worrying about bills. I told her firmly that I could not afford to fund her vacation. If she wanted to go to Cancun, she would need to find a way to pay for it herself. Her expression changed instantly. The sweet, pleading look vanished and was replaced with anger. She accused me of not caring about her happiness and asked what kind of boyfriend would refuse to help his girlfriend when she needed him. Then she delivered an ultimatum. She said if I would not help her with this trip, she would have to rethink our entire relationship. I stood my ground. I repeated that I simply could not afford it, and that she needed to be responsible for her own expenses. Amanda stormed off to the bedroom and did not speak to me for 3 days. The apartment was filled with this cold, uncomfortable silence. She would walk past me without making eye contact, sleep on the far edge of the bed, and leave rooms when I entered them. It was emotional warfare, and she was trying to punish me into submission. A week passed, and I thought maybe she had accepted my decision and would figure out another way to go on her trip or perhaps cancel it altogether. I was wrong. One afternoon, I was checking my credit card statement online and noticed a charge I did not recognize. $2,500 had been charged to my card. My hands started shaking as I looked at the transaction details. It was a booking for the Cancun resort. Amanda had taken my credit card from my wallet while I was sleeping and booked her entire trip without my permission. I felt rage unlike anything I had ever experienced. This was not just disrespect anymore. This was theft. I stormed into the living room where Amanda was sitting on the couch watching television. I held up my phone showing the charge and demanded an explanation. She barely glanced at me and said she knew I would not help her, so she had to take matters into her own hands. Her tone was so casual, like what she had done was completely reasonable. I told her she had stolen from me and that what she did was illegal. She rolled her eyes and told me not to be so dramatic. We were in a relationship, she said, and what was mine was hers. I could not believe she actually thought that was how relationships worked. I raised my voice and told her she could not just take my money without asking. She shrugged and said it was already done, and the trip was non-refundable, so I might as well just accept it and move on. Then she said something that made everything crystal clear. She told me I should be grateful she was still with me because most women would have left by now, considering how cheap I was. In that moment, everything clicked into place. She did not love me. She did not even respect me. To her, I was nothing more than a bank account with legs. I was a means to an end, a way to fund her lifestyle without any obligation or contribution on her part. Something inside me snapped. Not in an explosive, angry way, but in a calm, decisive way. I looked at her and said she was absolutely right. I should have done this a long time ago. Before she could ask what I meant, I pulled out my phone and called my credit card company right there in front of her. I reported the charge as unauthorized and explained that someone had used my card without permission. The customer service representative was very helpful and said they would open an investigation and temporarily credit the money back to my account while they reviewed the case. Amanda's face went pale. She jumped off the couch and asked what I was doing. I told her exactly what I was doing. I was reporting the theft and getting my money back. She started panicking and said I was going to ruin her trip. I looked at her calmly and corrected her. It was not her trip. It was a trip she had stolen money to pay for. She tried to grab my phone, but I stepped back and continued providing information to the bank representative. After I finished the call, I looked at Amanda and told her she had 1 week to pack her things and move out. The shock on her face was almost comical. She asked if I was really breaking up with her over this. I told her I was breaking up with her because she had used me, disrespected me, and stolen from me. I explained that I deserved a partner who valued me as a person, not as a wallet. Amanda tried every tactic she could think of. First, she cried and said she was sorry and that she would pay me back. Then she got angry and yelled that I would regret this and would never find anyone as good as her. When neither of those approaches worked, she tried being sweet again, calling me baby and promising she would change. But I had already made my decision, and nothing she said was going to change my mind. I reminded her that the lease was in my name only and that she had 7 days to find a new place to live. When she realized I was completely serious, she started packing her things in a fury, slamming drawers and muttering about how unfair I was being. I did not engage. I just went about my evening as if she was not there. Over the next few days, Amanda tried texting and calling me, constantly alternating between apologies and insults. I blocked her number and all her social media accounts. The credit card company completed their investigation and ruled in my favor, refunding the full $2,500. The booking was canceled, and Amanda lost the small deposit she had apparently put down with her own money beforehand. She had to tell her friends she could not go on the trip, which I am sure was embarrassing for her. I heard through mutual friends that she posted dramatic status updates about toxic men and how she had dodged a bullet by getting away from someone as controlling as me. But those same mutual friends had also heard my side of the story by then, and several of them reached out to tell me they were sorry for what I had gone through. A few even unfriended her because they were disgusted by her behavior. The first week after Amanda moved out was strange. The apartment felt empty and quiet in a way it had, not in months. I kept expecting to hear her voice or see her things scattered around. But as the days passed, I started to notice something unexpected. I felt lighter. There was this weight I had been carrying that I did not even realize was there until it was gone. For the first time in almost a year, I was not stressed about money. I was not wondering how I would cover expenses that should have been shared. I was not walking on eggshells, afraid to bring up financial issues. That first month, living alone, I managed to save $1,200. It was shocking to see how much money I actually had when I was not subsidizing someone else's lifestyle. I realized that Amanda had not just been failing to contribute. She had actively been costing me money by expecting me to cover her share while she spent freely on herself. The math was simple, but I had been too emotionally invested to see it clearly before. I started rebuilding my life piece by piece. I rejoined the gym and got back into a workout routine. I reconnected with friends I had been neglecting because I was always too stressed or too broke to hang out. Marcus told me he was proud of me for finally standing up for myself, and that it took real courage to walk away from someone I had invested 2 years with. His support meant more to me than I could express. 3 months after the breakup, something amazing happened at work. I got promoted to senior engineer with a significant salary increase. My manager told me she had noticed my dedication and problem-solving skills and wanted to reward that. I could not help but think about how different my life was now compared to just a few months earlier. I was advancing in my career, rebuilding my savings, and most importantly, I had peace of mind. I learned some hard lessons from my relationship with Amanda. The biggest one was that loving someone does not mean letting them take advantage of you. A real partnership is built on mutual respect and reciprocity. Both people should contribute to the relationship in meaningful ways, whether that is financially, emotionally, or through everyday actions. I had confused being generous with being a doormat, and there is a huge difference between the two. I also learned the importance of setting boundaries early in a relationship. When Amanda first started missing rent payments, I should have addressed it immediately instead of making excuses for her. By letting it slide, I sent the message that her behavior was acceptable, and it only got worse over time. Boundaries are not about being controlling or cheap. They are about establishing mutual respect and ensuring both people are treated fairly. Financial compatibility turned out to be just as important as emotional compatibility. You can love someone deeply, but if you have fundamentally different views on money, responsibility, and fairness, the relationship will struggle. I needed someone who understood the value of financial partnership and was willing to pull their own weight. Amanda clearly was not that person. I do not regret ending the relationship. In fact, looking back, I only regret not ending it sooner. I wasted months of my life and thousands of dollars trying to make something work with someone who saw me as nothing more than a source of income. I deserved better than that, and I finally had the self-respect to demand it. I learned to trust my instincts too. When Marcus warned me that Amanda was using me, a part of me knew he was right. But I ignored that gut feeling because I wanted to believe in the relationship. Now I know that when people who care about you express concern, it is worth listening to them. They can often see things you are too close to notice. These days I live in a smaller, more affordable apartment. It is just me, and I love it. I have peace of mind, knowing that every dollar I earn is mine to spend, save, or invest as I see fit. My savings account is healthy again, and I am working toward financial goals that seemed impossible when I was carrying Amanda along with me. I occasionally hear updates about her through mutual acquaintances. Apparently, she is struggling financially now that she does not have someone supporting her lifestyle. I do not feel any satisfaction from that. I just feel grateful that I got out when I did. Sometimes the most expensive thing you can keep in your life is someone who costs you your peace. I learned that the hard way, but at least I learned. So let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a relationship where you felt taken advantage of financially? How did you handle it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences. Share this video with anyone who might need to hear this message. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you recognize your own worth and stand up for yourself when you need to. Remember, you deserve a partner who values you, not just what you can provide. Take care of yourselves out there.